Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the B Team. We are back and better than ever, per always, with Ben, Chad, and myself. Just rocking. Listen, Mayhem, he doesn't need to remind us what time it is every time.
We were on time, bro.
Yeah, we were on time.
Yeah,
so you guys could mess off with that. But we are live, of course, on the Jackrabbit Illustrated Facebook, the Jackrabbit Illustrated Twitter, as well as the FCS Fans Nation YouTube. Thank you for joining us, making us part of your day, night, or evening, whenever you may be listening live or otherwise in podcast form or on YouTube. We would like to thank our title sponsors for Jackrabbit Illustrated in general, Kubota Dealers of South Dakota, with 10 different locations across the great state of South Dakota, a couple just over the border as well. They will hook you up with some of the best equipment you can get your hands on for any heavy machinery you may need, all the way down to mowing your yard in the city. They've got the best stuff for you. Get yourself some orange. They've got parts, dealers, and service, of course, at all their locations. I don't think you'll need a lot of parts, though, because that's some fine machinery that they've got running. So get yourself into some orange today. Thank you so much for being a title sponsor for us, Kubota Dealers of South Dakota. And the speaker is looking good at the field. They got one of the new speaker covers as their ad up there. Huge supporters of the Jacks, so you should be a huge supporter of them. As we are on all of Jackrabbit Illustrated with multiple people owning orange. I've got to work my way into that as well. I have orange, but it's the wrong type, so I'm working on fixing that. And of course, the B Team itself. We are brought to you by Culver's it's actually not the speaker cover. I stand corrected. Whatever. It's in that vicinity. If you look at the scoreboard, you'll see a Kubota sign up there, and it's awesome. But our show sponsor is Culver's of Brookings and Watertown. I just had some Culver's the other day. It was not in Brookings or Culver's or Watertown. Let me say the service was not the same. It is much better in Brookings or Watertown. So if you get the chance, stop there. I love Culver's either way, but the service is just better there. So stop by it in Brookings or Watertown. They do an incredible job of handling the massive people that goes through after the games. So shout out to Culver's of Brookings and Watertown for being real ones and for supporting us as the B Team, of course. But how you guys been? How have you guys all recovered from the weekend that was? Have we got it out of our systems now?
I'm better now.
You're better now. You were sick. I know you said you
had
a
rough couple of days. So
something must have spun around the tailgate or something, because my oldest Tay, she had to miss school in a cross country meet on Monday because she was. I carried a lot of puke bags out of that room on Monday.
I know it wasn't the barbacoa, because there's a lot of people that had it that didn't get sick.
Correct.
No, I wasn't blaming.
I don't think it was.
I didn't get sick till Monday anyway. So
yeah, food would have been faster acting. So it was definitely Ben's barbacoa. I mean, wasn't Ben's barbacoa.
Dude, that was fantastic. Legit. I love that axle. The what kind of cheese is that? God, I can't think of the name of it. The white cheese, queso blanco.
Yeah, queso fresco. There's a bunch of
fresco. Yeah, and the cilantro, man, did it up right.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it went quick, but I had to do it for the people.
Got to do it for the people, and we love making food for the tailgate. That's for sure. I was a bum and slept right through my alarm to get up and start what I was supposed to make. So I am a epic failure on
your penance is making that for the next home game.
Yeah, that I'll make something. I don't know if I'll make that because I'll have to cook that up before that. I don't want to refreeze a bunch of roasts.
Sure.
So I'll probably have to make that sooner than later here before that starts getting nasty. So that's on my list.
You made your wife clean it up too, so.
Well, yeah, thanks. What a guy. What a pal you are. Just throw me in front of that bus, buddy.
We will.
Don't worry. What a guy. You're a real one. A real dick. That was a bad morning for everybody.
Yeah.
But yeah. So tailgate was good. I thought tailgating was very good. It was cool. Augie probably brought the most people that I've seen a visiting fan base bring in a long time. Not as many as NDSU normally does, but it was definitely more than USD fans bring. And you could see the energy that their fan base had, how much they were enjoying it just when I pulled in to our lot. They had tailgates set up all through the free lots. It was pretty cool to see. It was really cool to see how fast the dairy bar tailgating lot's taken off. That's a super cool atmosphere as you come in. What is not cool is parking attendants closing off the library lot and telling club members that it's full when it's maybe a quarter full.
Or making us sit until 1 o'clock to get in because they got it barricaded
and
down the dairy and letting the paid lot get fully set up in the meantime.
Yeah. That's you. It's got to be all or nothing. Like, you can't be doing that, especially, you pay for the Jackrabbit Club. You should not be getting less access. So that's frustrating. I mean, that's the whole point of why they moved the library. They changed from what it was in the pay lot to what it is now. And like, if you want to apologize to those fans, that's not the way. Don't do it right in front of the people who paid for Jackrabbit Club, like right in front of their faces. That's terrible.
You don't think we won't notice? And my wife she had a wonderful idea. Instead of making us drive through Dairy Micro, because of where they block that off, dairy bar, I guess, whatever you want to call that. Just have us go to park down University, and you can have about twice as many vehicles parked on University to get into that lot and feed everybody through the north side of the triangle lot, as Matt likes to call it, north of the library lot. Yeah, I think that's a better idea, honestly.
Well, yeah, and make that the club access. And
right.
Make the other one, the pay lot and stuff. That makes a lot more sense than having two lines that people don't understand and blocking up Maderi. For
Speaking
sure.
Of parking, did your interview ever hit was it the Collegian?
I don't know. The Collegian. I might have had some of this going on during it. I don't. No, I don't know. I think they just picked on me because of the giant hat, honestly. But we'll see.
I was looking forward to see that interview, but I haven't seen it yet.
They also interviewed Ray Gronowski about things, which was kind of interesting. So
they know who he was.
I had told them who they were, but then later on they're like, "Oh, we didn't realize who you were." And I was like, "I told you." Whatever. College kids,
Right. Well, so tailgate was a lot of fun. It's definitely, you get into a flow of showing up when tailgating starts. I had to show up late because we went to Tay's soccer game, which is great, but you get there later than you usually do. It throws off your whole rhythm. It really does. You're so used to spacing out, seeing people. It turns into such a whirlwind up there. It was fast. It went really fast. So I always recommend getting there as soon as you can. Obviously, kids' sports games are more important. I will always pick my daughter's games over tailgating. But that being said, we had the old ugly complaint rear its head once again. And I know the right people know about it, but I can't not say anything. UPD, you got to chill out again.
Yeah.
They did look like they were on a mission this week.
I mean, I heard of a dude who was waiting in line to get into the backyard and took a sip of a beer in his car while he was waiting in line and got yanked out of line when they let him in and written up for a Dewey and open container and all that crap because the guy says, "I saw you drinking." Like, can we follow the spirit of the rule here a little bit and not the letter of the law? Like, you shouldn't be out here hunting for tickets. You're here to keep it safe. You're not here to pump your volume and flex your muscle. Nobody's impressed that you're UPD.
They did just look like they got done with training and they were real excited to show off their new skills. I mean, I appreciate what they do, and sometimes they do a great job. And I witnessed them doing a good job when there was, I think it was somebody had a glass bottle or something, and they're like, "Hey, you can't have that here." And they were nice about it. But some of them go over the top too. And so, yeah,
we're not saying let underagers, do beer bongs and keg stands in the middle of the tailgate lots here. Like, you got to keep it under control for sure. And they do a great down by us. They're fantastic.
I do miss those days, but
right.
But you're not underage anymore, so
but
you don't have to worry
the backyard.
About that.
Like, yeah, you want to keep it under control, but we don't have to hunt people down.
But what we don't miss is having people throw full beer cans and people running across the top of porta potties trying to get picked off by them.
Right.
So, I mean, there's a happy medium somewhere in between the two.
There is a happy medium that I firmly believe we can find, but that's enough of that. We don't need to go too far down that road. But yeah, that was I just had to say something about that. The game itself, however, it was just flat. Not the crowd. The crowd was good.
I will say the defense was outstanding.
The defense was playing. Yep.
So, I mean, you have to qualify that. Like, you can't say the game was flat. I mean, the defense played really well. They got put in a couple bad spots by special teams, by the offense, and the defense came to answer the call every time. And I will say the crowd was not flat.
No.
The crowd was really, really good. The student section was wild. It was so full, which was awesome to see. And they were into the game, and the fans that were there, that were into the game right away. So that part was really, really good.
Well, and props to the game day ops folks. They've started doing this year, which I've really noticed and I think makes a big difference, is when we come out of media timeouts and stuff, and it's just naturally a dead time. They've done a good job of picking songs that are really wind the crowd up.
100%. Yes,
it hasn't been every time, but they're starting to do it more, which is awesome. And Kevin's saying a win is a win is a win. That's a fact. My whole thing is, am I going to lose sleep over this game? No, I'm not. I said it on the late night with Borg. Like, I believe our offense is the one that was literally unstoppable for Incarnate Word and put up 45 points over the one that just was never in rhythm. They just had a tough time. I believe more in what I saw in a ranked FCS game than what I see in a D2 game. That caveat being said, I'm also a huge fan of not being hypocritical. And we ragged on Montana last year and their fans for trying to prop up their win against Ferris State to be something it wasn't. So, when you see like guys like Sam Herder and stuff who shuffle their top four, like, that's fair. That's what we wanted them to do with Montana. There's nothing unfair about that. It's not going to ruin the season. It's not going to cost the Jackson number 1 seed. The games will play out. It will be fine. It's totally fine. And I fully expect the team to bounce back from this for sure. And we got to remember too, this team was not going to hit the ground running like last year. Last year was packed with dudes who had record numbers of starts under their belt and all this stuff. This is still a very good team. It takes time for everything to click and gel when you've got new starters all over the place, guys getting injured and whatnot. So now you've got backups in who have even less experience, so they've got to get gelled and all that. So I guess my moral of the story is I'm not like worried about the offense. It'll start clicking. I'm a little concerned play calling wise. Sometimes the play calling feels like with the mesh of Olsen and Freund that it's trying to half be one offense and half be what UND's offense was, and it makes it feel a little clunky at times. So, and I think some of that's going to be those guys getting used to working with each other and all that. So that's just kind of my feel overall on the game.
Yeah, I mean, I've gone back and forth on the play calling. I was real critical of it right after the game, just the initial reaction. After doing a rewatch, not so sure that I should be so critical. I think there are two things about our offense right now. Number one, while we did hit on some runs, we had a lot of runs that got blown up. Now, credit to Augie's D-line. They played really well, and I think they got some dudes on that D-line, particular number 90. His name I wrote down somewhere. I'll find it later, but Tyler Byrne. There we go. Number 90. I wanted to call him out. He was really good. He kept blowing up our tight ends and getting in the backfield. And I think that we got off schedule a lot because of some of those blown up runs. The other thing that I think we have going on right now is that Mark and his new weapons are still trying to figure out timing. It's completely different going from having the Yankees, who had been playing with Mark for 3 years in a row, and then going to a set of wide receivers that most of them only had 1 year with him, and some of them none at all. And so I think we're still feeling that out. I think there's still some timing issues. It takes a while to trust what the receivers are doing before you can start doing those timing throws. And so I think the combination of those two, along with some penalties, just got us off schedule a little bit at times. And the other thing that I noticed is some of what the play calls were and what we were doing on offense was predicated on how Augie was playing defense. They seemed destined to keep everything in front of them. They did not want to get beat, and they were just saying, "We're gonna let you throw a short, and we're gonna rally to the ball," and which they did. I mean, they had that Peyton Buckley. That kid could play in the FCS tomorrow. He probably could play in the FBS tomorrow. That kid is a dude. He'll play in the NFL. I guarantee it. Number 8 is his number. Logan Leonard as well, number 27. He was flying around the field. He's a D-back for Augustana. So, I mean, that team, we don't want to sit here and say, well, that was a really good D2 team. We should have done better against them. There's no doubt about that. They are a good D2 team, but I don't want to blame it. The reason that we had so many struggles on that, because some of it was self-inflicted as well. And I think that there are the things that I mentioned, I think will get cleaned up, and not to look too far ahead, but we have 3 games to clean it up. And I think there's a bye week in there somewhere.
There's a bye week after this week, and then UNI.
Yep.
Right.
And for all of that being said, I do think, generally speaking, a really good rush defense can translate up a level. If you've got a really good defense against the run, it tends to translate. I think passing defense, it's a little harder because of the athletes in space and stuff. But all that being said, we still rush for 233 yards for 6.5 yards per carry. And we only lost 3 yards, so that's maybe 2 TFLs. It just wasn't the performance I think we're used to in an out of conference game, which honestly we should have expected. This was their Super Bowl, and I don't mean that in a disrespectful way or in this was your Super Bowl. It was, and I don't blame them for it. You could tell from the energy of their fans sitting behind us, this game meant everything to them.
The guy sitting to your right, especially.
Oh man, that dude was.
Can we address that for a second?
Okay.
Were they?
Oh, that's cool.
Were they mocking you guys by slamming their hats on the?
No, I think they were trying to make noise as well.
Yeah, they're just trying to make noise, and I'm all about that.
Yeah,
I didn't know if they were upset with you about the hat thing, and so they were trying to slam their hats on or if they were just copying you.
The only people upset about the hat thing were the people who've been buying the season tickets next to us off of StubHub. Those are the only people who end up upset with us. They sat down, and I I've talked about before. I'll just, before the game starts, I'll absentmindedly smack my helmet on the railing, and then I looked over and I'm like, by the way, just to let you know ahead of time, I'm really loud, because Chad's kind of up by the front railing now. He's a band. I'm like the only hard hat whacker in the row anymore. And she goes, yeah, I noticed. I'm like, ooh, you're going to be fun. So I toned it down for most of the game. I wasn't my normal self, but yeah, they were into the game. Augie was. The only people who were mad with us making that much noise for those 3, they left it early third quarter and would sat somewhere else.
I think we're seeing a lot of youth, and some of that is execution. Yeah. Obviously, we're missing some blocks we shouldn't. We got guys that came up that weren't even on the line a week ago. I think we're seeing a lot of that affecting our offense, finding that rhythm that we're struggling to find that rhythm. But once we find it, I think it's going to be a lot better. We can't have the drops that we've been having, obviously, because that puts us behind schedule.
It reminds me
those are
of
the kind of things that are
2022.
right. Yeah. I mean, we just keep shooting
100%.
ourselves in the foot.
Well, when everybody was going, where's the explosive plays? Where's the explosive plays? Where's the offense? That's just what that game felt like. It felt like it just had some things that weren't coming quite together yet. And that's why I'm not too freaked out about it.
Oh yeah, I mean, people people have a very short memory. They remember last
Right.
season. They remember how dominant we were and how every game was just like, well, we can pretty much roll out our helmets and we win.
By 30.
Yeah. Oh yeah, but easily. And back in 2022, we struggled with UC Davis after playing Iowa. We only beat Missouri State by 14. We barely beat Northern Iowa. Probably maybe should have lost that game. The UND game didn't start real well that year. So, I mean, there were plenty of games that year that didn't go necessarily to plan. And there's going to be some of that. Last year was an anomaly. It was one of the all-time great FCS football teams.
Yeah.
This team that we have this year is a very, very good FCS football team. It's not an all-time great FCS football team like last year. So people need to adjust their expectations based on that.
Yeah. Just because, last year was almost not even real. Like that wasn't even a real season damn near. That team was so good, and that's nothing wrong with this team. As it gets going, it's going to get closer and closer to being as good as last year. I do believe that. I fully believe this is a team very capable of winning a national title, no doubt. And it's going to be, I mean, that kind of makes this season more fun to me.
Right.
You get to see who's going to emerge, who's going to be the guy, who's going to, how are they going to gel and all those things. And to me, that's part of the exciting part of football a little bit. Not saying last year was boring, but it is a different type of excitement that I kind of was looking forward to this year. And it's here. That's good. You don't want to, I'm not saying you don't want to blow out every game, but it does make it a little more exciting if we have some close ones at home, like the UIW game where it's in doubt and you're really hanging on every play. That's kind of fun once in a while.
Certainly is more interesting that way.
Yeah, I mean it's fun. It's more interesting. Now I don't feel like going back to the days where we randomly lose a game we shouldn't, right. And we're in the parking lot like, what just happened? Like I'd rather not have that. But I mean, we could have that this year. We'll see. But no, it's going to be a fun year. It's been fun so far, and it's going to be a very fun
product placement.
Season.
Brendan.
Brendan's drinking.
Shout out to Deb. She got us some garage beer for garage time.
Was it
cracking it a little early, but I couldn't just let it sit there staring at me, begging me to open it.
Sorry to cut you off, Ben.
No, you're good. I was going to address Jesse's comment here. He says, will we see any more touchdown celebrations? I think we'll see celebrations. They may not be as choreographed and as, I don't know, look at me as these were. And I did like, if you haven't listened to Jimmy Rogers' Coach's Show, I highly recommend it. We were texting about it a lot in our group chat today, and it's awesome. I mean, Stig did a great job, but Jimmy just gives such good insight, and him and Tyler have a really good back and forth, and it's a great show. But he addressed the celebrations in that show in a very good way, I thought. He said that this was an expectation that the team set on itself, that they didn't want a me first attitude. They didn't want that. And so what Jimmy's doing is holding them to their own expectation of what they set out for themselves. And so, yes, Jimmy was maybe upset about it, but I think the team as a whole doesn't really want to act that way. And so I think you'll see an adjustment that way.
Yeah, I'm not, I think this has been beat to death so hard over the week between press conferences and everything else. But
yeah,
I was kind of stunned when they went to the back of the end end zone to the camera, I was like,
Yeah.
whoa.
I've never
look
liked
at
I've never
that.
liked that. Ever since the NFL started doing it, I'm like,
Yeah.
nah.
The
And then they started like
sellies.
they started like setting up cameras in the end zone. It's like I just
Like,
don't
and
like it.
you know what? If a guy spontaneously dances, whatever, awesome. In you know, you sound like an old
Crock pot
curmudgeon.
thing was cool.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah, you know, whatever. I don't, you know,
Short celebrations, are fine.
yeah, you know, it's all good. I don't mind that stuff at all. It's when it's been pre-choreographed that just makes my skin crawl a little bit. And I think to me too, some of it was the opponent that made me really go, ew, like we pre-planned celebrations to rub it in on a D2 team. That's tough.
Right.
And you know, we're not having our best game. That's a tough look, but you know, they're kids, they're having fun. You know, you push the limits, you know, the team celebrated a little more, and then eventually you end up going a little too far where the coach is like, that's enough, you know. So
Yeah.
that's what happens.
Back to actual football stuff.
Yeah.
We were talking about the offense. I do want to point out how good Amar Johnson has looked. He looks really, really good this year. He had a really, really good game. And Maxwell Woods.
Yeah.
Jinx. With Angel Johnson out, Maxwell Woods got a chance to get some carries. That dude has some wiggle to him. He's got some real quickness to him, and he makes a cut, and he's back up to full speed immediately. And so, you're really excited to see what he does in the future. Brandon, you look like you want to say something.
Was it? Well, the thing he did on that 61-yard, busting it all the way back to the other side of the field, and then running down the sideline. That we haven't had somebody do that since what, Pierre?
Yeah, probably.
That type of run?
That type of run. I think that was the last time I was like, oh, that's fun. Eddie like. And it's not that I don't, you know, I'm 100% sure Amar's capable of it, but you know, that's not really his style as much. And but yeah, no, he's
I would
gonna be
say
exciting.
Amar is more of a slasher, whereas Maxwell is a little more jitterbug and takeoff deal. But he'll be exciting. I would like to see a short yardage option emerge. It's something that we were 3 for 10 on third downs this game against a D2 football team. Again, credit to Augustana. Their D-line played really well. However, we had too many short yardage situations where we just couldn't move the ball. And it's something that, it's potentially we've got some blocking issues, particularly on the edges. But I think that what I would honestly like to see is what Montana State had a lot of success with Sean Chambers. We saw them run it against us, and they had this package where Sean Chambers came in, and if it was like 4th and 2 or 4th and 1, it was damn near automatic for them to get a first down with Sean Chambers in there because he's so big and powerful, and they had an extra blocker in front of him. And we have a guy in Chase Mason who I think can be a similar type of package for us. And so, in my opinion, I would like to see that happen, but I don't really care who it is or how it happens. I just want to see us have a short yardage option emerge because we're going to need it at some point in the season, particularly against a team like NDSU, where you just have to convert those third downs or fourth downs if you're going for it. You cannot get stonewalled and have to punt.
Yeah, that or an under center quarterback sneak, or we used to do it with Kraft all the time and have him motion across and sneak with his just big body. We've got some 6'7" tight ends that, you know, I know Tucker was a freak, and that's, you know, if it's usually a different thing when you're talking about him, but I do feel like that's something our tight ends would be capable of doing, or, you know, somebody Brenner, I don't care, you know, but it's someone thick to run that ball. Shoot, take one of your reserve linemen and throw him back there as a lead blocker, and then you know, put him back there as fullback and hand it off to Chase Mason. That'd be something.
or
what my high
Big
school did.
DE or something.
Yeah, that's what my high school did. They put me at fullback and had me lead block. It was like having a guard come out of the fullback position. So with a running start, I'd love to see, one of them big boys with 5-yard head start meet a linebacker in the hole and then have Chase Mason follow it up. That'd be something. But
yeah, that's all I had on the offense anyway. Did want to touch on the defense. Again, we mentioned they played lights out, really impressive, especially the run defense. Augustana gained 57 rushing yards, 24 total net on 21 attempts. If you figure out the yards per rush on that one, it's pretty damn good. And only 171 total yards. They had more punting yards than they did yards of offense. So overall, a very, very good game for the defense. They continue to look really, really good.
yeah, I mean, they did kind of what you expected, but also just what I expected to see out of them when they didn't have to face an up-tempo spread UIW style offense. You could kind of see it, when you hold Ollie Gordon to 100 yards until the very end of the fourth quarter, you're onto something. You're cooking. You got run defense, and not that I don't think, a pass defense is terrible, but when you saw it against a more normal offense that we face normally, you saw how good the defense really is. I think they didn't pass 100 yards of offense total until in the third quarter. I mean, that's a good showing. So really, really happy with how the defense is. I think the defense is going to look really, really good all year, and it's just going to look better and better and better.
Yeah. And I think, we talked about prior to this week, we wanted to see more out of the D line. I think we saw that. We saw them making some plays in the backfield. And I think we continue to see that. I think they continue to develop and we see more pressure. Everybody wants the sacks, but even Jimmy again mentioned on his coach's show, he's like, the system we use doesn't produce that many sacks. He's like, I'm sorry, but it's the system we use and it works really, really well. And you can't argue with the results. And so,
Is it me or does he get better on the coach's show like every week? Because this week was even better than last. I like he's like, well, you brought it up at the post game, and Tyler's like, no, receipt right here. I didn't bring that up. That was you. He's like, okay, well, I guess you're right then.
His personality. If you don't listen to the coach's show and you want to hear Jimmy's personality come out, watch the coach's show because it's really fun. Him and Tyler have such a good relationship there, you can tell, and that really lets it shine through, which is a lot of fun.
Definitely. Well, anything else on this game before we move on?
No, it's time to flush it and take the W.
Yep. This game, feels like this game out of all the games has been talked about more after the game's been over than any other one all over. So yeah, we don't need to beat this one to death as we are a half hour in anyways, but
we had to talk about some tailgating and some UPD stuff.
Oh yeah. Per protocol.
Burn a good 10 minutes.
Yeah.
All right. Well, now we've talked about this game, let's before we talk about SLU, we need to look at the Missouri Valley standings and potentially look at some top 25 action.
Working on it.
We will go over all the individual Missouri Valley games on Scare Money Don't Make Money on Thursday night. But to look quickly at the standings, you've got Illinois State, UND, NDSU, UNI, SDSU, and Southern Illinois all at 2-1. USD, we should talk about that for a second. They fly out to Portland.
Yep.
And don't get to play a football game. Portland State, they had too many players come down with a whooping cough, which is last I heard, I thought we had vaccines for that, but I don't know.
I thought so too, but You know, that crazy
It's a different
granola
area of the
crowd out
country.
there. Yeah.
Different area of the country. So, enough players came down with whooping cough. The USD did not get to play a football game. They had to fly back without playing. I actually feel bad for them. I feel bad for like the parents that traveled out there and any fans that traveled out there and
Yeah.
didn't get to watch a game. Just a bad deal. And the weird thing about it is that they didn't consider it a forfeit, and
Right.
that it was a game that just is not going to happen, and they're not going to be able to replace it on their schedule. And so there's an opportunity for an FCS win that they just don't get back.
Yeah. I mean, there's real possibility, especially with seeding being 1 through 16 this year, that has real repercussions. Candy, stop it. But I got a cat yowling at me, so I apologize if it's on there. But it's gonna have real repercussions possibly down the line. So I understand why they're mad. I thought their AD throwing a bit of a tantrum on Twitter was maybe a bit too far. Like
A little churlish.
Yeah, because contrary to USD fans' belief, like the local media does like them. They do like them. So like they want them to do well because it's better for them when they're doing well because then they get more engagement. So they're absolutely going to carry the water for you on that. Like Borg spent 20 minutes last on our late night show, like going off about it and making fun of it as he should. I mean, it's a wild situation, right? Well, that was a different conversation, but like they're going to carry the torch. You could have just come out and said, look, we wanted to play. They didn't, and we're trying to sort out how it should work. We feel like we should get credit for the win instead of a giant
Rant.
post. Like, dude, I get him being upset.
Oh yeah.
That's I would make a post like that, but I'm not an athletic director. I feel like that. I don't think Justin Sell would do that.
No.
Maybe you have an interview where you say stuff like that. Putting it out on Twitter just feels almost immature, I think, to me. But the world's changing, so maybe that's what you do now as an AD. And I'm not ragging. I'm not saying he's bad AD or anything. It was just it felt like he could have gone a different way with it, maybe, and still gotten his point across. I mean, you look at Zimmer's article on the Valley here. Its title is USD got screwed. So, I mean, it's wild that it went that far.
Can you imagine if they made that big stink about it and then they go and lose to Drake this weekend?
That'd be awesome.
The 1-0 1-0 Drake, who just beat Eastern Washington.
What would be worse is if they ended up having their team come down with something and they end up
like COVID, like they canceled some games.
Yeah, canceling a game of COVID. But
they maybe did that.
I get why they're mad. Like you let them, on Thursday and let them fly out Friday. What is wrong with you? Like you knew it was pertussis. Like that doesn't clear up. Like it's not like, oh, we're gonna be better. We'll be ready. Like you should have at least warned them before time. Like, look, we might end up canceling this game. We don't know if we're gonna be able to play.
Yeah, I agree. Back to the standings. Sorry, I didn't finish that. I got caught up in Portland State mess. The rest of the standings, well, I guess the rest of the standings don't really matter because it's, there we go.
Sorry, I was trying to
get Indiana State, Missouri State, Murray State, and Youngstown State at 1 and 2. Nobody is winless in the Valley anymore. And nobody's undefeated either. All right. Then we've got the one of the only polls that's available right now. We've got the stats poll, and they have what?
Well, that's the active streak of weeks in the poll that Chad has up there.
It is?
Yes. Active streak of appearances and
yeah.
By the way, that is impressive for the record. Like you just got to scroll down a little farther. You're on the right spot, Chad. That's just what they have on there. I went and opened it up just out of curiosity because I saw it pop up. But that is impressive. I mean, we are Us and NDSU are not close to anybody else, and it is wild by
Right.
120 weeks. That is 2 full years worth of
Games.
calendar years worth of weeks. Like, that's crazy. But
Yeah.
anyways,
So the stats poll still has the SDSU at number 1, NDSU right behind, and then they've got Montana State and Idaho, which that top 4 is pretty consensus among pretty much every poll you're going to see. And I think an argument could be made for any version of that. I'm kind of surprised. I mean, we've talked about how, like, if a poll dropped us, we wouldn't really care. I'm kind of surprised that they have NDSU at 2 still. Just with how they've looked, or how they looked against East Tennessee, and the resume that Idaho and Montana State have compared to NDSU. So that's just, but again, we're splitting hairs there. But
well, let's be honest, it's a stats poll, right? And we know, like, Blue and Sam Herder and Jamie and all those guys have they do a good job. They put effort and thought into it, and they don't just slot rank. But we know that
they put effort and thought into it.
Yeah.
What are you saying about the stats poll?
I'm saying a lot of people don't put effort and thought into it when you've got Albany ranked in the top 20. Like, what are we doing? But anyways,
all right.
But I honestly, I understand, some people like to say, well, you're number 1 until you lose. Well,
sure. No, not when you haven't been.
I don't like that mindset personally, because again, this is me trying not to be a hypocrite here, but I said for years when NDSU was 1 and then had a bad game, or we said that Montana should have dropped when they had bad games last year and then didn't, that they should have dropped. Your resume this year matters. It's a poll on this year. It's not a poll on last year. It's a poll on this year. FCS Nation Radio puts out a fantastic poll. Just the reason we put this one up is because this is the one that the NCAA recognizes for now. So you kind of got to go with it. It's really bad, some of the stuff on here, but go ahead, Ben. Sorry.
I was going to say they don't have theirs out yet. FCS Fans Nation.
Oh, that's true.
So
no, FCS Nation, not FCS Fans Nation.
Oh, I thought you said
Fans Nation. We haven't done ours for a while because
Fans Nation hasn't come out, and I don't know if they're doing it this year. But FCS Nation.
Oh, I didn't realize they weren't doing it.
Stone and Kevin do a great job. I do appreciate their rankings, but I think if you're going off of this year, right now would probably have Idaho 1, Montana State 2, SDSU 3, North Dakota State 4. That doesn't mean that's not going to change. Now, where you run into issues if someone does slot vote and then they do that, then it's an issue, because then they're not going to change it, and then you have a problem going forwards. But if you have someone who is like Zach McKinnell or all those guys going and voting off of resumes as they get built, that's okay. That then polls are fluid, and they should be fluid. It's that's the way it should be. It should change. You shouldn't stay with the same poll and then move people up or down and be like, well, I'm going to drop them 15 slots because that was a bad loss. Like, no, it's not the number of slots that you move. It's where should they settle in compared to everybody else. And it's not how many I want to drop them. It's who's got better resumes than them now. And that's how that should go, in my opinion. And that's the issue with the stats poll, is it takes too long for teams to move up or down. Like they float up there, and then one bad loss, they move 2 or 3, while a team's having a great season that wasn't in the preseason poll is barely cracking the top 25 because, well, the teams above them haven't lost. Well, that's bullshit. Move them up into where they deserve to be based off of their wins. So that's my little rant on that. But
And when it comes
overall,
to things like that, even I think that look at the showing that Idaho had at Oregon. That to me gains more than us beating Augustana, right? In the polls.
right.
Like that's a more valuable loss than our win. I don't know, just how I looked at it when I used to vote.
Right. And when you look at it now, like the other thing is this doesn't mean that we wouldn't be able to move up over them. And in the end, it doesn't matter who's number one. It matters who gets number 1 and 2. And
Right.
guess what? Of those 4 teams, 2 of them are going to drop a game or 2. Probably 3 or possibly all 4 of them. So like it'll be decided. It'll be fine. When it comes to top 4, it's not nearly as important to me as like now, since the way the NCAA committee is going to look and they look at resumes, it's who was ranked when you beat at the time you beat them, not who you beat that's ranked at the end of the year, which is stupid and lazy. But because it's really hard to take, those 6 teams you're deciding between and pulling up their deal and matching it with the current poll. That's so difficult. But and using nuance, apparently that's too much work for him. So it does matter, if you're dragging your feet on putting a Wofford in who has good wins, and if you're leaving UNI in who's looked bad, that matters because it's going to skew people's resumes at the bottom of the poll because someone's going to get a ranked win for beating a UNI who hasn't looked that good against a couple of Pioneer League schools, but a team plays Wofford and loses to them or beats them when they should have been ranked. They're losing on a ranked win. That's a bigger deal to me.
For sure. No, I get it. I do like Zach's comment here. Number one, Zach McKinnell, he says, UNI getting votes is insane. List of honorable mentions is disgusting too. McNeese getting votes should get people kicked off the voting panel. I like this idea. I I was imagining people handing in their polls and then somebody looking and being like, all right, who voted McNeese? And people laughing about it. But the problem is it's like serious people are seriously entering this and like saying, yeah, I think McNeese is a good team. It's just wild. But anyway, enough of that talk.
Well, if you believe one guy on Twitter, it's because the voters are getting paid to vote for certain.
Yes, I forgot about that.
That was the most unhinged shit I've had somebody say to me about a poll ever. That was wild.
To finish out the top 10. Oh, go ahead, Chad.
I was like, it's that Candy Crush commercial. This isn't how any of this works.
To finish out the top 10, we've got Villanova at 5, and then USD at 6, SIU, Central Arkansas, Montana, and UNV at 10. And then for the rest of it, Valley teams, you get Illinois State at 17, and for some reason, UNI at 25. So,
and I feel bad for UNI. They're the whipping boy all the time. Abilene Christian to me at 19's not good. They almost lost to Northern Colorado. Are we sure about Abilene Christian being at 19? They almost lost to Northern Colorado. That's like almost losing to Western Illinois. Like, what are we doing here?
Right. Like Garrett says, the poll is different than the playoff resume. I mean, the poll is not a power ranking. I mean, we have that poll versus power ranking debate all the time. Zach says he's still waiting for the check for being paid to vote for people.
They're in the mail.
Yeah. Anyway, let's move on. We've got another football game coming up this Saturday, going all the way down to Hammond, Louisiana, which I had to Google where it is. It's just to the east of Baton Rouge.
Louisiana.
It is. There. Thank you, Brendan.
Southeastern part of Louisiana.
Yeah,
East
if you want
Baton
to be
Rouge,
specific.
north of New Orleans.
North of the Gulf of Mexico.
It would have been a cool trip to make, like go to New Orleans for a couple days and then go to the game, but probably too late for that.
Word on the street is Kevin's going to be down there.
Yeah.
Hosting an Alex's Lemonade stand.
Which, if you are going to the game, look up the FCS Nation Radio podcast, and they will be talking about their tailgate party they're having at this game with Alex's Lemonade Stand. Go check them out. They're good dudes, good cause. I'm sure it'll be a good time.
Before we get too far ahead of ourselves here,
Mm-hmm.
we have failed to mention our segment sponsor, Cubby's Sports Bar and Grill of Brookings, South Dakota, in downtown Brookings.
Which segment do they sponsor?
One of them. They're a segment sponsor, and since we don't have defined segments, I picked what a segment is. So this is a segment.
The team's not real segmented anymore.
And so it is. And they put a huge JI fan up, their flag up in there, and if
awesome,
like
that
Matt
was
said,
sweet.
If you'd have told 21-year-old me that something I was associated with like this had a flag up in Cubby's, right. I would have probably said, "Oh, so I snuck it in there, or what? How'd I sneak that in there? That was pretty clever." No, so that was crazy cool to see that picture get shared with us. That's awesome. But Cubby's is, we tell people over and over again, get down to Cubby's for the best sports bar in South Dakota. Great chislet, great burgers. I mean, great food in general. The nachos, Thai nachos, all sorts of stuff. Someday JI Italian nachos, maybe comes back. Great Alex's Lemonade Stand supporter last year. Maybe we'll be able to figure something out this year. They've been awesome. Incredible sponsors for us. Always huge supporters of everything Jackrabbits at Brookings. They have been a staple in Brookings forever. I think the patio is probably still open and you are running out of time to get to enjoy it. So I recommend doing that sooner than later. If you want to get down there, that is probably my favorite place to go there. So yeah, head to Cubby's if you want to watch the game and don't have, ESPN Plus or anything.
I was going to say, no better place to do it than this weekend with the away game.
Right?
No better place to watch an away game than down at Cubby's with a packed bar full of Jacks fans cheering on the team.
But if you can't get to, if you live far away from Brookings and can't get to Cubby's, we do have the Jackrabbit Illustrated Bar Network, the Jibbin, as I like to call it. You can look on the website, jackrabbitillustrated.com, and find a viewing party near you. So yeah, do that.
I haven't checked out that list. Is it getting populated?
Yeah, it is. We have multiple states on there and everything.
Wisconsin, South Dakota, Minnesota, Iowa.
Yep. We got to work on Nebraska next. So yeah, it's a pretty cool deal.
This is so cool. I just went to.
It's awesome. You've never checked it out?
Dallas put that on right away afterwards.
Dallas made it. And
like the week after we first talked about it.
Yeah, it's got by state.
Yep.
By town.
Yep.
There's one in Gayville, South Dakota.
Heck yeah.
New Underwood, South Dakota. I mean, we are hooking people up.
Yep. And if you
it's one of Wisconsin.
You know of a bar, we got Wisconsin sites, we've got Minnesota sites, Iowa. Yep.
Shout out to
Brendan. Probably even knows where that's at.
I can probably pronounce it correctly too, because I'm pretty sure he's not pronouncing it correctly.
So is it not Skowani?
I don't know. I'd have to look at it too.
Hold on, I'm looking at the list now. I got to see because I'm gonna.
I'm
pretty sure it's not. No, this is great. This is great.
Googling with Brendan and
this is why people watch us. Skowani. I guess it is Skowani. I've never heard of Skowani. That's a typo.
He's not even a real Wisconsinian. Doesn't know where Skowani's at.
Zach, no, none of us are traveling down to Hammond, unfortunately. Kevin said Stone too. We care way more about you, Kevin, than we do about Stone. Stone never watches our podcast.
That's a typo.
Kiwani?
Yeah, Kiwani. Yep.
No S. The S is just not there.
The S is silent.
That's
Fond du lac.
Wisconsin is so stupid.
No, there's no S in the word. It's
a typo.
No.
Yeah, it's a typo.
Kiwani. Skowani is way cooler. They should put an S in front.
But
it's supposed to be Kiwani. Oh, okay, that makes way more sense.
I should pull up the name of my hometown's high school now and see if you can pronounce
just
that.
Type
one.
it in the chat and we'll have a shot at it there.
Mary Larson says she got a friend group of 15 going to New Orleans.
That's pretty awesome.
New Orleans, Louisiana. I hope you're also going to the game.
Well, I mean,
Maybe.
New
I don't know.
Orleans is pretty fun. You may not be able to make it.
Yeah, you might
after
not
that
make
much
it.
fun.
We have too many hurricanes.
I'll put it in the chat and everybody can try to.
Dallas says submit a ticket, a help ticket for the typo.
Corey says he'll be in Hammond for the game. That's very cool. Nice. I like it.
Check my gun.
Matt says, I saw Southern Illinois QB got hurt, has to have surgery. That does stink for them.
Yeah.
And for the FCS as a whole, because SIU was have a pretty good year there. Brendan's hometown is Chicago.
One at a time. You talked over each other.
Chiquamagon.
It's not terrible. You're not on though.
I went with check at the beginning. Chiquamagon.
Doesn't start with a check.
It's a sh.
It's Native American, isn't it?
Correct.
I mean, a lot of things there are in Minnesota, Wisconsin.
Northern Wisconsin. There's a lot of French and Native American words.
Schwamigan.
Yep. The
Charmin.
National Forest.
Slappy.
Way
off. All right, let's talk about this football game, for God's sake.
I was being nice.
All right. Yes, Southeastern Louisiana, who now calls himself SLU, although they will always be known to us as SELA.
SLU on the program, SELA in my heart.
Exactly. Yeah, no, it's it'll be an interesting game. I don't know what the history is of the. Have we ever played them before?
We have.
Yeah, we played them twice, haven't we?
Yep.
Beat them both times.
Yep.
Once there for sure. Maybe both there?
No, I think it was once there and one. I think it was a home and home series back. It was like 2008, 2009-ish, 2008, 2009.
Well,
I think one of our players like burst an appendix down there and ended up not coming back with the team because they were in the hospital. I think that could be just me talking out of my ass too, but something wild happened down south there.
That's also a fun fact. But the team
Lodge grass, Jesus, sorry. I spent a night in a car in a blizzard in Lodge Grass, Montana. So sorry, that just
you have to talk about the comment before you start talking about something.
I don't think you wanted to say the whole comment.
Yeah, I didn't really.
Got you. So Southeastern Louisiana, their game so far, they lost 52-0 to Tulane. They lost 35-10 to Southern Miss, and then they beat Eastern Washington 28-24. Not the Eastern Washington of old, the Eastern Washington that also lost to Drake. But we don't want to play the comparing game too much. It sounds like they like to run the ball a lot, which last I checked, we do have a really good run defense. So that definitely plays into our strengths quite a bit. It also sounds like they have good defensive ends, which we saw Augustana, a team that had some good defensive ends, give us some trouble in our run game. And so, I mean, it's a game that we'll have to take seriously, and that we'll have to go down there and hopefully take care of business. Like Matthew said, Sela only passed for 72 yards last week. So, yeah, very much a run-first team.
Yeah. I mean, they're 45th in the country in rushing yards. And boop. They're averaging 4.8 yards rush, 152 yards per game rushing. That's kind of their jam. That's right up our alley. Especially with the low. They're using two quarterbacks right now, which is I'm not a fan of. What?
I think he's laughing at Ron's comment, but
no,
I don't know.
I was laughing at you, Chad, because you muted to burp, but we all saw you clearly burp really loudly.
Sorry, yeah, it did happen. My stomach is still not 100%. So
You had a little grin after it. I don't know if you were burping about, or if you were
no, I
grinning
think I was
about your
grinning.
burp.
We are squarely in garage time already. We're not even a full hour in.
You get the
Goodness
garage
sakes.
beers out, and you're in garage time. What can you say? Yeah, but I mean, comparatively, we are 15th in the country at rushing with 5.54 yards per carry, 5 rushing touchdowns, and 195.7 rushing yards per game. It's hard to get a beat on Sela for me. You lose to 2 goodish FBS teams. When you beat an Eastern Washington team close, who was the Drake game an aberration for them? And then they were playing hot because they, wanted to come out firing. I don't think so. They want to fire the coach, but, try to give them the benefit of the doubt a little bit. It's a long trip. It's a odd environment. I love out of conference games like this. Someone different in the FCS from a better conference than the NEC or the Pioneer League, or some really really bad team you're paying to come in. My hope is if we keep struggling to get FBS games, we get more unique home and homes like this. I really would look forward to that, like get a Stephen F. Austin or McNeese or someone a little bit out of the norm that we don't see around here very often, and kind of cool places that maybe you're like, oh, maybe I go to that game. But we'll see how we handle the heat. We kind of struggled with it in the heat and humidity in Oklahoma State, and Louisiana isn't known as a cold place. So we'll see how that goes with the guys being prepped. I know Jimmy said the coach, I think it was on the coach's show, that the humidity is supposed to just get berserk after the sun goes down when the game starts. So they're going to be playing in a swamp.
I mean, we have humidity here too, so I think we'll be all right. But
Not that humidity.
Somebody
People in the Midwest, I've grown up in the Midwest my whole life, and those of us in the Midwest think we have the worst of everything for weather, and we just don't.
It's just because we do. We just get everything.
Seth
We
Meyer
get some of everything.
Seth Meyer was correct. They did come up here in 2013.
We get as
first
bad as everything.
We went down to Southeastern Louisiana in 2012, and we beat them 31-14 down there. And then in 2013, they came to Brookings, and we beat them 34-26. However, I think somebody pointed out that I think the year that we beat them in Brookings, they were like a quarterfinal team. So maybe a little better team back then, but yeah, we will see how it goes. I don't have a whole lot more insight to provide on them.
Yeah, I haven't been able to catch their games, so I'm a failure to everyone. Usually I catch those games when we've got home games. My God, Ben, the shadow of your nose makes it look like you have the Charlie Chaplin stash back, and that
it does. Oh my gosh,
my favorite thing. Someone screenshot him. Someone screenshot him right now.
You just need some background. Is the light on in your room?
Well, yeah, I took this bulb out because you told me it was too bright, Chad. Now I've got lighting problems like crazy.
Quick, mute him. It'll be like a Charlie Chaplin film.
Anyway, what was
See how nice I was calling that a Charlie Chaplin mustache?
That was really nice of you.
People say I'm mean.
Have we figured out the punishment for scared money don't make money yet?
No, that has to come naturally. I'm rejecting all and any suggestions that get thrown our way.
It wasn't a suggestion. I was just asking.
I know.
No, there's been some thrown around.
Letting everybody know I'm rejecting all and any options that are thrown our way. It's got to be a natural thing that comes about. It's more fun that way. It's got to be a surprise. That's half the fun.
I agree.
And it's really fun once you've learned to win.
I'm going to call Kentrell Prejean to have a big game. He's from Louisiana, Lafayette, Louisiana, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
Sounds like he'll have a bunch of family down there. looking forward to that. Looking forward to Mark getting back on track. Looking forward to the defense continuing to play really well. Yeah.
I'm gonna go with. Oh God, we're over an hour. We probably shouldn't have much more to say about this
I know.
game.
I was trying to wrap it up.
Yeah, you can try. You wish.
I mean, they're the Lions. I can add that.
You thought no. I'm kind of disappointed. What is it? Danny Johnson or Don Johnson? Danny Johnson from FCS Nation. The FCS Fans Nation page that posts on there. It's a huge Southeastern Louisiana fan. I'm a little bummed he's not in the chat. I was kind of excited to have him jump on there. But offensively, I think that Amar is going to have a day. I think the offense is going to start to click a little more and gel a little more, and it's going to look good. But I think Amar is going to have a huge day. And then on defense, I'm going to go out of the box. I'm going to say Bowloon comes out and has a day for himself. Maxi boy.
I like it. I'm going to go with the defensive line continuing to improve and dominating the line of scrimmage and getting a bunch of tackles for loss.
I really think our linebackers are going to have a day because of the work that the D-line is doing, like you said. So I'd like to see that, get some tackles for loss on the edge.
Which, by the way, we need to get back to calling them the Chain Gang. What happened to that moniker? I haven't heard that.
Chain Gang? I mean, it's still around. We just haven't said it, I guess. Yeah. They still call themselves that.
Oh,
I think. And I think Mark has a good week. You know, we're primed for a good Mark week. I think this is a get back on track game, like some were saying in the chat.
Yeah. I think Mark lets loose and just slings it. I feel like he's been putting a lot of pressure on himself, and he's just got to let loose a little bit and start slinging the ball around, because he's so good when he does that, when he gets that in that rhythm and just is dropping back and slinging the ball around and not second guessing and a little bit and all that. And I'm looking forward to that.
Yeah, and like Pat Whitty White, I think it's Whitty.
It's Whitty, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah.
It says Hunter better have a good game. The returner is another Bergman type runner. Yeah, I mean, it does sound like they have a dynamic return guy, but I expect Hunter Dustman to neutralize him, like he always does.
Can we start calling Hunter the neutralizer?
Dude, that's a good name.
I think it needs to be something with
like hunting related.
Yeah, like Hunter
the punter.
I hate that. I like that.
Right there.
I
it was right there.
That's good.
On that note, where's
call him the neuterer because he kicks their balls away from
oh, jeez. That might be better than Hunter the punter, though. The neuterer.
He neuters their return game.
The castrator.
Yeah, there we go.
I love how people are
Castrador.
asking us injury questions like we know. Steve asked if any injured players are going to be back. Jim asked Angel going to be back.
Yes. All of them. They're all going to be back.
No, I don't think any of us know.
Go to Vegas for that. Put some money down.
So just so everyone knows, I think sometimes it's good for us to reiterate this. Even if we did know, we probably wouldn't say. We don't know. We don't try to find that stuff out because we're not the news breaking people. If we've seen it, we'll bring it up. But you guys probably have seen it as well then. But generally speaking, we don't have that information. I do wish what I wish they would do, just because of all the HIPAA, and that's part of why they don't release things, and then they do release things and all that jazz. I wish they'd just do what the NHL does for all football and say upper body, lower body, this many weeks, and be done with it. Then you don't have to worry about, if he comes back, somebody targeting a specific area, all that jazz. You're not naming a specific injury. You're just saying he's out for this long with this. Feels like you get better injury report, more honest injury reports that way.
I don't know. I like the gamesmanship of not saying one way or another, honestly.
It's a secret.
Yeah.
All right. With that, thanks everybody for showing up, and thanks for all the comments. As we always say, like, share, subscribe, do the follow thing, tell people about it. Helps us out. On another note, Ryan Drake said that is that their wide receiver? Sorry,
God, you got to quit doing that.
The wide receiver Rollins lacerated a kidney from a hit by their safety. Oh, somebody else's wide receiver lacerated a kidney
Oh,
from
sure.
a hit by their safety.
Uh-huh.
Interesting.
Oh, our safety. Got it. There it is.
Was that an Augustana receiver then? This is some.
We have a Rollins on our.
This is how clueless we are.
This is serious garage time here.
Yeah, well,
I'm just more
break
interested.
out the chocolate milk.
We're gonna need some help, Ryan, on what you're talking about.
It's from 2008. Okay.
Okay. From 2008. That's why. Oh yeah,
really had us like
Rollins. Okay,
yeah,
yes.
right.
I remember.
Rollins from back then, and it was Rollin, wasn't it? Rollin, ROL.
Yeah, ROLLINS, Rollins.
Rollins. Yeah, that's really had me thrown off.
Okay, non-appendix. Okay.
Yep.
Now
Good call, Ryan. Thanks for
how to go, Ryan. Yeah. So
yeah, park that car.
Now that we've Aaron Rollin. There it is.
Aaron Rollins.
I had to find it.
It didn't have an S on the end, I'm pretty sure.
No S.
You're a towel.
I'm a towel.
Firmly in garage time. That means it's time to go. As Jim says, as we always say, go big, go blue,
go blue,
go Jags.